This is just to calm you down after the last presentation. This is a thangka painting. It's a 1,000-year-old tradition. Some of you may have seen these at the Asian Art Museum or in someone's bedroom. It's an image of the Buddha. And what's interesting about this tradition is that the purpose of these paintings is not to convey cultural or historical information, but to induce an experience in the viewer, an altered state of consciousness. I studied this form of painting. I started studying it 22 years ago, and the first thing I learned was that you draw a grid that underlies each one of these figures. And the grid is different depending on the different, they call them deities, but they're actually enlightened beings. They're humans that became enlightened. And so I was really fascinated by that. A lot of my artwork, for any of you who know me, deals with geometry. So 2 years ago, I started working on a series of art based just on the geometry that underlies these images. And so what I do is I would take that underlying geometry that's normally hidden, that's why I call the series Hidden Geometries, and you create an abstract composition with that. And this is the historical Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, the Buddha that lived 2,500 years ago and attained enlightenment. This is Tara, white Tara, who's the embodiment of female power, a wonderful deity, probably the most popular deity in Tibetan Buddhism. I'm a Buddhist, by the way. I've been practicing Tibetan Buddhism for about 25 years. But quite soon I wanted to get out of the computer and be more tactile. And so these are ink on clay. I was trying to get back to very natural old materials. This is called Protector of the World, which is another name for that female power, white Tara. And then these are the pieces that are the more kind of developed painterly type pieces. These are all developed inside the computer with algorithms that take that geometry and then filter a very low resolution image of a thangka. This is actually what I do. I take the thangka painting and then filter it very low resolution. And then I sample it. So the first one I did in Blender was kind of handcrafted sampling. Because what I was trying to get at was the experience of someone when you're meditating on the deity. What my teacher told me when you meditate on the Buddha is that you're supposed to visualize it very perfectly and clear in your eye, in your mind above your head. But actually what you see is very fuzzy. And so I wanted to convey that idea of what a person actually sees when they're meditating, which is fuzzy and changing and dynamic. It's a static image that conveys something changing. The other important thing is that there's an idea in Vajrayana Buddhism, Tantric Buddhism, of these three bodies that we all have and that you get in touch with through meditation. There's your mental body, your mind body, which is this immaterial, and there's your physical body. But then there's the thing in between. They call it the Sambhogakaya, actually, the body, the energetic body. I'm using it right now with speaking, with creativity, with sensuality, all these with exercise, all these ways of connecting the body, the mind to the physical body. So this is one that I made based on Tara, that embodiment of female power. This one's particularly special because it's my wife's stepmother was really instrumental in helping to resettle the Tibetan people in Minneapolis. She died 10 years ago, and at her memorial service, a Tibetan gave a thangka of white Tara to her husband. And he gave it to me because he's not a Buddhist, so he's like, yeah, I think you'll enjoy this more than I do a few years later. And so I sampled that and made this image from it. This is the program I use. After that first one, I wrote my own program, so I call Buddha Grids. And what it does is it lets you take an image when the samples are just on the center is just a blurry image. So then it lets you offset them, do that algorithm that I did by hand, now kind of mechanized. And then I can offset it, so I can either get very far or very close from the central point. But when it's randomized, it doesn't look particularly good. So then each image I can then paint. I can kind of, within the rules of the system, I can modify it until I get these illusions of layering and so on. This is more fractal, kind of. There's this idea of the universe in every atom they talk about in Tibetan Buddhism, or Indra's net in Hinduism, where kind of every particle of space reflects every other, which actually is true about the universe, right? Every point in space feels the gravitational influence of every other. These are dynamic pieces, wall pieces on screens. This was the first one, called The One Gone Beyond. And this repeats in sessions, like sessions that are about 8 minutes over 2 hours. So it's kind of like a meditation retreat where you do these sessions. And what I tried to convey in these are particular types of meditation. There's many different types of meditation in Tibetan Buddhism. This one's about concentration, like meditations that meant to help you concentrate. And so these pieces are actually meant to induce the experience. Just like those 1,000-year-old devotional images, they're meant to induce a meditative experience in the viewer, but a particular type of meditation. This is called the One Gone Beyond, which is another name for the historical Buddha. This one is a very different type of meditation. This one's called the One Gone Beyond, Watching Thoughts. This is the type of meditation where you don't empty your mind, but you actually let anything pass through it and just watch and observe it. And so I was trying to convey what that type of meditation feels like, and maybe also induce that in the viewer in the same way. So this gradually kind of complicates through that same geometry, but in that way of articulating, observing every thought. And then this last one, you can barely see it move. It moves about at the pace of a shadow, and it's timed to the rotation of the earth. So it's the first piece I made that actually isn't predictable. Whenever I turn it on, it's different, and it will never be the same. I use this irrational number, a ratio of irrational numbers to calculate the gradients. And so the type of meditation I was trying to get at this, which is also the White Tara, is that meditation where you actually become that being. That's the Vajrayana or Tantric Buddhism, is where you actually become that type of enlightened body. So, thank you very much.